All right, the rule of thumb is former presidents invariably will say something critical of their successors, but usually not in as few as 10 days. But Barack Obama has done that, commenting that he is heartened by these protests that have been going on. And his spokesperson saying that with regard to comparisons to President Obama's foreign policy decisions, as we've heard before, the president fundamentally disagrees with the notion of discriminating against individuals because of their faith or religion. There is nothing, by the way, in the Trump ban that cites religion, just the regions of the world from which we've had particular violence: Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. I might add here, not to be an apologist for either side here, that if this was going to be an anti-Muslim type ban, well, you might as well throw in 40 other countries that have a majority Muslim populations. But be that as it may, it is unusual for a former president to speak out so quickly. Maybe this situation warranted it, or maybe this was just a great opportunity for the former president to seize on it. Historian Doug Wead joins us on the phone. It's got to break at least a modern-day record, Doug. 10 days.
Boy, it's pretty amazing. I think you have to go back 84 years, 3 generations to Herbert Hoover to find anything quite like this, this uncivil. It's pretty remarkable.
You're talking about Herbert Hoover going into FDR. That was obviously tense and angry. The two didn't even talk to each other for a while. But that was the closest example that you can see.
Yes, and Hoover tried to actually get FDR to sign legislation, and it was quite contentious, and he gave a few public speeches, but nothing like this. And ironically, FDR did exclude immigrants based on their religion. You'll remember 1942,
right.
A ship arrived in New York of Jewish people immigrating from Germany. FBI interrogated a young man named Herbert Barr, learned he had been planted by the Gestapo to infiltrate our country, and FDR shut down all Jewish immigration. So we've had some really unfortunate times, the internment of Japanese in this country by a Democratic administration, FDR. So we've had wars and we've had situations where this sort of thing has happened. But as you point out, the largest Muslim nation in the world is Indonesia. It's not on this ban.
But speaking out this early, and maybe, to be fair to Barack Obama, he indicated that it's something he felt passionate about, regardless of the timetable he would speak out. This was one of those moments, I guess. But normally presidents, former presidents don't do this. They wait a while. Eisenhower holds the record for that with John Kennedy, right? I mean, he personally let Kennedy know how he felt about the Bay of Pigs fiasco, but he told him that personally. He didn't say it publicly. That's the closest kind of sort of example I can see to how maybe to handle this sort of thing. Others wait a good number of months. Ford, criticizing Carter 3 months after Carter was in office over assault agreement that never materialized. Carter waiting 7 months with Ronald Reagan. But by and large, it's done in terms of months at a minimum. In the case of George Bush Jr., nothing for years. But what do you make of this?
And great generosity. I mean, look at Nixon. If anyone could be bitter in 1960, he could have been very bitter. He held a press conference, the only one he held immediately after the victory, and he said, "I will never criticize President Kennedy if he wants to go play golf or take time off. Presidents need that sort of thing." He was very generous. Bill Clinton was generous to George W., not some of his staff who stole all the W's.
No, I remember that. But do you think? But do you get a sense though with this that there was something else going on, Doug? And to be fair to Barack Obama, this is something he felt very passionate about. That these protests were grounded in looking after the interest of people who were trying to seek a haven or a visit here, when in fact he kind of conflated this into be a religious argument when that was not the case. But that's how he saw it, and that's how passionately he jumped on it.
Oh, I don't think he sees it that way. He's a very smart man. This is fake news. This was not a Muslim ban, but it's being portrayed as such.
So you think he should have just shut up?
He should have. For his sake, it would have been much more dignified. But I think he's personally hurt and sees this election as a rejection of his legacy. and has hurt his feelings. That's what happened with Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover could see himself being blamed for the Great Depression, and it broke his heart. And I think Barack Obama this has broken his heart.
Do you think, Doug, he gave a heads up to President Trump that, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put out a statement today, or what do you think?
I doubt it.
Really?
I'd be anxious to see if there's something of that nature.
Interesting. All right, Doug, thank you very much. Doug Wead on Barack Obama breaking at least recent records about criticizing his successor. It's up to you whether you think that's passionate, something he strongly believed in, or opportunistic, fair and balanced. Have at it.